My name is Jeff.
If you know me, you know that I love Fire Emblem. Particularly Fire Emblem The Sacred Stones. A game I hold dear from my childhood. A game that introduced me to the franchise as a wee lad. Fire Emblem is a game where you follow a lord and their band of goons as they get stronger until they get strong enough to defeat the big bad at the end. Now, what if we decided to only use one unit for the whole game? And not just any unit, but a trainee unit. Sacred Stones is one of the few Fire Emblem games that gives us 3 units that are actually like a tier 0 class, which means they're weaker off the bat, but they have more room to grow. Ultimately, though, it boils down to there being just 3 units that are going to be benched because you need to invest in them, and they're not that good. And those 3 are Ross, Ewan, and Amelia. Ross can be pretty good since he's available as early as Chapter 2, and starts with a hatchet, which is just a light and accurate hand axe. He's generally considered the best of the 3. Ewan, while not outstanding, has access to magic, which means you can kind of train him without ever really having to face anything. You have 2 range. Eventually you can promote him into a summoner, which means he'll be a useful summon bot, staves, and Ewan is the only other summoner to Null that you can actually get in the main campaign, so he can be useful in that regard. Now, Amelia, on the other hand, well, she's the one who needs the most work to be made good. You see, Amelia has to compete with Franz, has to compete with Ford, has to compete with Kyle, has to compete with Seth the God himself, and that's just naming the Cavaliers and the Paladin. We're not even talking about the Great Knights, we're not talking about even Gilliam, man. Well, maybe not Gilliam. We're running through Sacred Stones using only Amelia. I actually streamed this challenge over on my Twitch. If you want to watch more funny Fire Emblem stuff, go follow me there. Link in description. Amelia is by definition a bad unit. Her bases are 16 health, 4 strength, 3 skill, 4 speed, 6 luck, 2 defense, 3 res, and 6 con. And in her trainee class, she only has 4 move to boot, which is the same as a tier 1 armor knight. She doesn't really have good growths either. I mean, they're not terrible, but her best one other than health is luck, and her strength, skill, and speed are all under 50%. She generally has low defensive growths, and it's practically impossible to use her in a starting chapter. If you even want to see her level up, it's basically required to use the Tower of Valny, which is like a map that you can grind weak units in, to really be useful at all after you recruit her. Unless you really force-feed her kills. She comes with a Slim Lance, a Vulnerary, and Speed Wings. Hence giving her the nickname Speed Wings, as that is usually the only reason to recruit her. Amelia with investment can be pretty decent, honestly. She gains 10 extra levels over non-trainee units, and has access to Cavalier and later Paladin, which is a very broken class in GBA Fire Emblem. She can become a knight too, but you tell me if being lance-locked with 4 move is a better choice than 2 weapon types, a horse, and 7 move. Even if you don't play Fire Emblem, would you rather have a cool horse or a suit of armor that slows you down more than protects you? Anyways, let's talk about her tier 2 classes. She has access to Great Knight, which is essentially a general on a mount, and even if you only get 6 move, you give up that extra movement for full weapon triangle control. You could also go General, but Generals only have 5 move in these games, and there's a skill called Great Shield, which will make it so she doesn't take any damage, but that's not worth it over the benefit of having a mount. Paladins get 8 move, have access to lances and swords. We'll be going for the broken option in this run. I made her a Paladin. In this run, I've edited Amelia's base stats, growths, and items over to Eirika, so she will be acting as our lord. This means we have convoy access, we don't need to deploy an extra unit being our lord, because she is our lord. Some rules include no tower grinding, no using other units unless they're force deployed, then they can be meat shields, but I will not allow them to fight back. Anytime they fought back, I actually reset it, and I am playing on the hardest difficulty. I should also mention that I have hacked in a trainee seal, because there's a fun little thing in Sacred Stones coding. They actually hard-coded Amelia's tier 0 promotion. You have to meet like some very specific standards for a promotion to go through. And you also have to have access to battle preparations, which you don't get by the times you can promote. So I went ahead and hacked in a trainee seal to promote her early, basically. When I say early, I mean she's still level 10. She promotes to level 10, but I don't have to wait for battle preparations, and I don't have to hope that the engine decides that they want to promote Amelia, because I don't know if it'll work or not. Other than that, this is a vanilla Sacred Stones run with Amelia as our acting main character. One of the benefits of early Amelia is the fact that she has time to grow. However, as we'll see on the prologue, before she has any time to grow, a lot of RNG is involved to get past 3X users. If you aren't aware of basic Fire Emblem mechanics, there's a thing called the weapon triangle. Swords beat axes, lances beat swords, and axes beat lances. Well, Amelia only has a slim lance to boot, and we have 3 axe users. So what I did in the prologue is pop her speed wings so I can double one of the fighters, run to a force tile to give her plus 20 avoid and plus 1 defense, and I prayed. Since Seth is forced in this map, I traded over his Vulnerary and Silver Lance to Amelia. The Silver Lance will come in handy once we level up her Lance level, and we basically have to pray that RNG is nice to us in the beginning so Amelia dodges enough attacks from the fighters to kill them. Essentially, we have to hope that she dodges 60 hit attacks that do 11 damage. And we also have to hope that Amelia gains a point in defense as she levels up, so she can take enough hits to where she can heal them off in the next turn. So once we get a good run going, after many attempts, Amelia takes out the 3 fighters in the prologue. The real run begins. It's about goddamn time. After this, the run actually just gets so much easier. The prologue is probably the hardest chapter in the game. Amelia gained 5 levels in the chapter, so that puts her 4 away from being able to promote to a Cavalier, which we will be doing in Chapter 1. The hardest part of Chapter 1 was probably getting Amelia the lances from Gilliam and Franz. I didn't want to throw away their iron lances, so I tried as hard as I could to avoid any combat while bringing Seth over to Franz and Gilliam without retaliating, and then bringing the lances back to her. This did end up working out, so I managed to get Amelia some lances so she can keep fighting until Chapter 2, and the iron lances actually helped a whole lot because Amelia does have enough con to handle them properly. I don't really know why they give you a slim lance on Amelia to start, just to make it harder, I guess, but I digress. Amelia hits level 10 and we get her promotion to Cavalier. Luckily for her case, she can also get her final promotion before the route skip as well. After she promotes once, it trivializes a lot of problems. For one, she now has 2/3 control over the weapon triangle, as Cavaliers can use swords and lances. Chapters 2, 3, 4, and 5 are kinda tricky due to forced employment, but overall they're a bit of a cakewalk. If some units die, it's not a big deal. I mean, we're only using Amelia. I tried to recruit Joshua just for his killing edge, but it was not happening. Natasha kept dying, and I decided it was not worth it. I did manage to get the Dragon Shield and the Skill Book, which are items that increase defense by 2 and skill by 2 respectively, so that was a nice boot to Amelia. Chapter 6 can quite easily be rushed since it's a kill boss chapter. The only threat in this map is a fighter that wields a halberd, which is effective versus cavalry, but if you have Amelia carry a sword and you heighten some forest tiles, she won't have any problems. Chapter 7 is another map that can be very easily rushed, and this is also where Amelia will get her final promotion into a paladin, as the boss drops her promotion item. Funny. Amelia is busted, bro. And we get the Knight's Crest. Alright. You think Amelia's broken now? Get ready. We're about to promote her. Again, the only reason that the palettes are like messed up is because I edited her over Eirika, and I don't have Eirika's palette set properly to translate to like Knights, Cavaliers, etc. And frankly, I'm not too worried about that. I don't even have animations on, so. What? What's that? Oh, I skipped one? Oh yeah, Chapter 5X. So we're gonna ignore this one, alright? So technically I would have lost the run, since Amelia's not in it, but yeah, no, this is not a big deal. No. This is all for fun anyways, guys. So basically, I did not edit Chapter 5X to have Amelia in it because I didn't know where she would be in terms of scaling. And if you've never played Sacred Stones, 5X, basically you follow Ephraim instead of Eirika, and Ephraim's a whole different unit, and I would have to know what level my Amelia was to edit her properly into this chapter, so I just didn't worry about it. On to Chapter 8. Chapter 8 sees us facing off against Torado, pretty much the main baddie pre-route skip. He's a promoted general on a throne, which would be pretty scary if we didn't have this monster on our hands. The hardest part of this chapter is making sure we protect Ephraim, as this chapter is where he and Eirika reunite. I tried to just bum rush Torado in my first attempt at this chapter, but unfortunately there are reinforcement cavaliers that come in 2 turns after Ephraim shows up that make it very difficult to pull this off without some dumb luck. Basically, there's 5 knights that I would have to get through with Amelia, and she wasn't really strong enough to pull that off, so in my second attempt I just had Amelia protect Ephraim, and it went by pretty easily. After this chapter, we have the route skip. I went ahead and just went the Eirika route to save me any trouble, since Amelia was already edited over Eirika. Let me just say, the route skip was very, very easy. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14 were all kind of a breeze. To summarize, Chapter 9 just involved killing a lot of enemies with javelins. We also killed the faker Amelia, which, since this is her actual recruitment chapter, I got to kill Amelia with Amelia.
I found you, faker. Faker? I think you're the faker
Amelia.
around here. You're comparing yourself to me? Huh? You're not even good enough to be
I'll
my
make you eat those words.
Boom. You can't exist in this universe. Chapter 10 was just me ignoring everything and rushing down Pablo. 11 and 12, just some more slaughtering with some necessary sacrifices in Dazla, Larishel, and Saleh. Oh, also Ewan gave me an energy ring like a homie. Shout out to Ewan. Chapter 13 is actually a defend map, where you can just kind of kill the boss to end the chapter. While this can be kind of hard on a normal run, and you actually do want to stick around long enough to recruit Cormag in this chapter, Amelia can just javelin her way through victory, and we are not worried about Cormag because, you know, it's an Amelia solo run. So, we killed Ias in about 3 turns, I think. Chapter 14 is a Seize chapter. Quite easy. We actually just have to beat up Carlisle in Johanna Hall. Pretty simple stuff. We recruit Renak for 9,980 gold for the member card. I thought the secret shop sold stat boosters, but unfortunately I was wrong, so we probably didn't need to do this. Oh, and Renak died. Rest in peace, Renak. Our next challenge lies in Chapter 15. This is the chapter where Lords reunite again. There's lots of reinforcements, a lot of enemies in general, and we gotta protect Ephraim, who is on the other side of the map. Did I mention that desert tiles limit movement of all units, and that it is especially difficult for horse units? Yeah. So my main strat was to meet shield / decoy with Null, rest in peace, and rescue Ephraim with Dusel. Dusel can take plenty of hits as long as you fend off the shaman reinforcements that come out, which Amelia can get there in time. This map forced me to reset a couple times due to some bad plays, but after the waves of reinforcements, it was actually pretty easy. We also get the Swift Souls and a body ring in this chapter, which means Amelia now has 10 move and 11 constitution, making her even more of an insane unit. Double-digit move and constitution means she can both get across the maps even faster, and she can start doubling with heavier weapons. Now, chapters 16 and 17 aren't too bad. 16 sees us confronting Orson, who we actually meet in chapter 5X as a playable unit, and he ends up betraying. Sorry if I spoiled Sacred Stones for you guys, this game is very old. He honestly has a pretty tragic, yet also kinda weird champ story. But I've already spoiled enough. Nevertheless, he must die. So we kill him pretty easily. It was actually quite a straight shot to him if you rush this map, although generally it isn't the best idea in a standard playthrough because there are 2 units with siege tomes which are like 3 to 10 range tomes. Most of your units can't take them as they do a lot of damage, but they also weigh a whole lot. Amelia doesn't care about this, of course, so she just runs in and just ends their lives. Chapter 17 is our first battle with Lion, and once again, I just rushed it. Some lucky crits and we're on to Chapter 18. Chapter 18, also known as easily the second hardest map. The first being the Prologue, of course. This map is easily one of my least favorite in the Sacred Stones as it is, and doing it with one unit that can't fly is hell. This map has a bunch of Gorgon eggs that hatch over time, it has tiles that burn you for 10 damage, and your goal is to basically rush down and smash all of the eggs before they can hatch into more of these Medusa-looking Gorgons. Let me tell you, these things can turn you to stone with a spell called Stone. They can hit you for 20 damage, even at max level with Shadow Shot, because Amelia only has like 7 resistance. And on 3 occasions, I had 6 to 12% chance stones hit me. The Petrify debuff, for anybody not in the know, they made it so when you get petrified, you have an 100% chance to get hit, and enemies get increased crit on you for 3 turns. If I get hit by one, the run's dead. So needless to say, there was a lot of resetting on this chapter. A lot of Gorgon eggs hatch because I only have Amelia to kill the eggs, which means even if they only have 9% average to hit, I'm getting hit by 6 or 7 each turn. They're trying to hit me, and I don't have enough time to fend them off because more and more are hatching. One time my game even crashed, which I was very shocked. It was kind of weird. But eventually I got a good run and finished it out. This chapter sucks. With Chapter 18 out of the way though, Chapter 19 is a cakewalk. You rescue Mansell, you unequip your weapons, and you chill for 12 turns. That's it. You literally just sit on the throne and they're not going to kill you. You're fine. Chapter 20 wasn't hard, but boy was it tedious. The game throws a crap ton of promoted monsters at you. Most of the monsters just have a ton of health or defense, especially the Cyclops with 65 to 68 health, and the Death Coils are very defensive. And me being the idiot I am, I forgot to stock up on javelins. Oops. Morva can be kinda tough since he hits very hard, but with some luck, he is not bad at all. And then after Morva drops, you seize the gate, and the final chapter begins. This chapter is not too different from the last, but instead of an open outside, you're forced to go through a gauntlet of tough monsters until you reach Lion at the end. Even after we cut a path through, Lion was no joke. His Naglfar is decently accurate, does a lot of damage, and you just gotta hope for the best. Definitely some RNG manipulation going on in this chapter. Some elixirs and some patience definitely help too. The final battle begins. Boy, was this tough. Just like in the prologue, we had to rely very hard on the RNG. We can only take one hit here, and we pretty much only have a chance to attack the boss on our turn due to him having 3 range and the ability to summon more monsters. I should also mention that even with capped strength and using the Vidofnir, which is the S tier lance, the strongest lance in the game, Amelia was dealing a measly 12 damage. Famortis has 120 health, and enough luck to avoid getting crit whatsoever. And not to mention, he has over a 60% hit chance for each of his attacks. I wasn't done there. His summons were using up my uses of the Vidofnir so much that I almost ran out, and I had no convenient way to swap to a new weapon. But alas, against the odds, with only one use of the Vidofnir left, I dealt the final blow on Famortis, and the run was over. Amelia reigned victorious. If you want to watch the full run, I actually have uploaded it to my YouTube channel. The link is in the description below. 4 hours of my life I could have spent not doing this run, but hey, it was a fun ride. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I appreciate you watching to the end. I hope you all have a blessed day. May the spirit of demon slaying Amelia be with you. And if there's any other kind of funny challenge runs you guys want to see, go ahead and give me some suggestions in the description below. I would love to do some more stuff, especially Fire Emblem. This is definitely my thing lately, and I want to get more into content creation, but I need some more ideas. So if y'all could come through, I'd appreciate that.